to people so they can have the most impact on their lives. So I appreciate everyone for being here today, and this is a few things that I want to help unpack for you guys.
Hello, my name is Michelle Whitfield. I am a personal banker at the Fifth Third Center here on Wilkerson Boulevard, and my job is to simply help you financially succeed. Okay, got some great information for you today, and we're going to rock out. So open your ears because you can pass this information along to family members, friends, things like that. Okay.
So today's Empower You is going to be about booster credit. If you'll click through for me, Michelle, please.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
I'll move you guys
So
up.
we'll just go over a few misnomers around credit, fact or fiction. So my bad credit score will haunt me forever. Is that fact or fiction? Could I get just a little bit of participation? Fiction, fiction. Awesome. Next one. Closing unused credit cards will help my score. Fact or fiction? Closing unused. I like this. Go ahead, Michelle. Fiction. So we'll get into it a little bit in the conversation, but your credit makeup or your credit history, or excuse me, your credit profile is made up of how long you have had available credit to you. So it is important if you have a trade line that you have that's been existing for some time, even though you don't use it, leave it open because that affects your credit profile. As long as I pay my bills on time, I will have good credit. Fact or fiction? Love it, love it. Fiction. So there are just so some bills, though collections gets reported to the credit bureau. So if your bills go into collections, then those things get reported to the credit bureau. But actually maintaining, if you're paying your light bills or if you're paying your Verizon wireless bill, those things do not get reported to the credit bureau. So once they fall into collections, then those things get reported. But as long as you're making your monthly payment as your contract states, those things do not get reported to the credit bureau. So understanding credit. So before we talk about ways to boost your credit, we just want to give you guys a better understanding. So we'll talk about what good credit is, what types of credit you have available to you, and how your credit score is calculated. So that's some of the things that we'll be talking about within our PowerPoint deck today. So the higher your score is, the less you'll spend on buying things on credit, right? Pretty straightforward. The less your interest rate is, that interest is pretty much the money that you have to pay back in addition to the money that's borrowed. So if your credit is pretty good, then your interest rate is lower, therefore impacting the additional funds that you have to pay back for the initial request. Go back for me real quick,
Okay.
Michelle, if you don't mind. So this is just a little example. So let's say you want to buy a car for $37,000 and you want to pay it off in 4 years, right? So here's what it looks like if you have a low credit score. Typically, the percentage rate that you'll have to pay back in addition to the $37,000 would be 16%. So your monthly payment would be equivalent to $1,062. If your credit is in pretty high standing, anywhere between 720 and 850, your interest rate is 5.23, which is substantially less, therefore making your monthly payment $856. So you save $206 on your monthly payment, and over the life of the loan, you save $10,000. So in 4 years, you'll have $10,000 available to you. So that's $2,500 each year just because you have good credit. You were saving just for making your payments on time and having a pretty good credit profile. So just understanding how that impacts you. So there are two types of credit. There's revolving and installment, or what we consider non-revolving. Does anybody know what a revolving credit looks like, or what that would be? Better yet, I'll narrow it down. Would a credit card be considered revolving credit, or would a car payment be revolving credit?
I think the credit card would be revolving.
Awesome. Based on what this is, right? So it allows you to borrow as little as you want, up to a limit, like a credit card. You have a limit on your credit card. You can borrow as much as you want. You can borrow as little as you want. Flexible repayment. So you, like a credit card, you have a monthly minimum payment, but you can always pay more than what the minimum payment is, right? So that's flexible. You don't have a necessary amount that you have to pay other than just the minimum monthly payment. So then you have example, credit card, home equity, lines of credit, things like that. So when you look at, anytime you hear line of credit, credit card, that's revolving. Revolving, think of a revolving door. You go through it and it continues the circle. Same with the credit. You spend the credit, you use the money on your credit card. Say you have a $5,000 limit. You spend $5,000, you pay your credit card bill of $5,000. going through the door. You went through the door by spending it, you're coming back around by paying the bill. That $5,000 is available to you again, and you could just continue to use that credit that's available to you. Installment loans, specific amounts, set monthly payments, example, car loans, mortgages. These are loans that have a term. So let's just say you have a car loan and it's available to you for 4 years. At the end of 4 years, you no longer have that debt that's over on your credit profile, nor are you obligated to pay that payment any longer because you satisfied the contract that you've already stated. So, and what that does is you have to, to have more impact on your credit profile, you have to have a mix of credit. So if you have just a credit card and you're saying, hey, I got a 750, I pay my credit card payment on time, you could hinder yourself from getting further lending because as financial institutions, we want to see that you have a pretty good credit mix. So even though you might have a 750 with revolving credit, we may require that you show some non-revolving credit in order to get the type of lending that you may be looking for. So if that's a house, some institutions may want to see non-revolving credit if you want a car payment in the future. So just understanding that you do need a mix of credit. You don't need a lot of trade lines, but you do need a pretty substantial mix between your non-revolving and your revolving credit. So here's just the percentages of credit scores, know your number. So understanding that, 800 to 850 is a pretty good credit score. This is about the percentage of people that was polled in this particular survey that we did that has this particular score. Most people are falling within the 700 and 799 range. 600 and 699 as well as about 23%, and under 600 is about 20%. So just understanding that your credit score is essentially a snapshot, or what I like to call a report card of how well you pay your obligations back. So just because you might fall within this range, it doesn't necessarily mean that you won't get here, nor does it mean that you'll have a lot of resistance getting there. So there are a lot of ways that we can help you get to this point. A lot of times we see people say, oh, I have pretty bad credit, and they get kind of discouraged, and they don't necessarily take the action steps to get to this point. It's not really tough to do so. We just have to be strategic with how we're budgeting and saving so we can manipulate how we change our credit score. So just having an understanding of what that looks like. Credit reporting, there are 3 bureaus that we report to. So that's TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. It is very important to understand when you're going to different institutions which credit report they pull. We pull TransUnion, the credit union pulls TransUnion as well. So these scores could be different. You might have something showing up on your TransUnion that's not showing up on your Equifax or Experian, but just understanding that those are the 3 bureaus that gets reported to. And so if you have any derogatory credit marks against you, and you call these bureaus here, or you put your disputes in with these particular bureaus. A lot of times I get calls and say, hey, Bilal, my credit's bad. I need you guys to get this off of my credit. And I'm like, I can't, I'm the bank, I can't do that for you. But let me know who that derogatory mark is with, and we'll try to see what we can do to get a dispute in for you so we can get some changes to that credit. So just understanding who we report to, and when you're getting lending, understanding what bureau the institution is looking at. This is what I really like. So this really breaks down your credit profile. What's in your credit score? So this is a graph that's going to indicate what your credit profile is made of, or what your score is made of, and what compiles your credit score. So 10% of your credit profile, your credit score, is made up of new credit. So that's when you get a new credit card, you get a new installment loan, car payment, things like that. 10% is that. Next one for me. Credit mix. Remember when I said earlier in the conversation, lenders like to see a mix of credit. So we want to see non-revolving and revolving credit. So we want to, and that's 10% of your credit profile. So already between new credit and mix of credit, we're at 20% just on your profile alone, not even saying you paid anything back, longest line of history, just 20% is made up of new credit that you acquire as well as the mix of credit that you have. Length of credit history. A lot of times people think, oh man, like if I close my Kohl's card that I had since I was 18, I was an authorized user, will that impact me, as we stated at the top of the conversation? Absolutely, that's 15% of your profile. So length of credit history. If you have a credit card, if some of you guys might be authorized users on your parents' card, please do not have them close that card down because you guys are now older. I have clients that that has helped them get apartments in the past. I have had clients that has helped them get auto loans in the past because they were an authorized user on a card that had a long credit history. So mom and dad, put them as an authorized user on the credit card, and they were able to, pay their payments on time every month and keep the balances low. When it's time for, the son or daughter to get an apartment, they have a pretty solid credit score. They're able to do so without any extra down payments. And what that does as well is, so just I want you guys to understand the impact of just having a credit line. So if you feel like I've had this a long time, I need to close it. No, please keep it open, use it minimally, and keep the balances low. Payment history, 35%. Very straightforward. Do you pay on time? So if you are unable to resolve the balance in full, I strongly recommend that you make the minimum monthly payment, because that's 35% of what your credit profile is made up of. So 3 things: new credit, credit mix, and length of credit history is just as much as just making your payment on time. So if you have a minimal payment, I know, things sometimes become challenging to actually resolve the balances that we may have, but I strongly implore that you make your $25 or some are $35 minimum monthly payments, just because that's 35% of your credit profile or your credit mix. 30%, I love this one, debt and available credit. I hear so often, yeah, I don't want to get new credit cards. I don't want to get a new installment loan. I don't want to do these things because I don't want to add to my debt. So debt and available credit are 2 different things. Debt is available credit that is used. If you have credit available to you that you do not use, it is available credit. So what that does, that affects your debt to income ratio. Debt is only debt, again, if it's credit that is used. So just because you have credit cards or installment loans, let's be more specific. Credit cards, you have a bunch of trade lines. If they aren't being used, that is not considered debt. That is considered available credit. So if you look here, that's 30% of your makeup, of your credit profile makeup. So just understanding that debt and available credit are 2 different things. Don't think because you're getting a new credit card or a new trade line that you're acquiring debt. You're actually acquiring available credit. It turns into debt when that available credit is used until you pay it back. And then at that point, it becomes available credit again, which impacts your debt to income ratio.
Bilal, just to add an insert, whenever your parents put you on their credit card or something to help boost your credit or start you with credit, it is a great thing if they are paying those bills on time. However, if they do not pay those bills on time, they also impact your credit score as well. So be mindful. Mom, did you make this credit payment, or did you make that payment on time? Because it also affects your credit negatively if they are not paying on time. Also, I also encourage you not to co-sign for anybody. Sometimes your friends will say, hey, you got credit, but I don't. Let me be on piggyback with you. That can affect your credit if they do not pay on time. If they, put that in, for some reason they couldn't get credit. So they're borrowing yours, so that should let you know, hey, they're not being responsible with their credit. So remember, if your parents are putting you on there, we're making those payments on time. But if they're not, it can affect your credit as well. Back in the day, they used to put refrigerators and light bills and stuff in our name. It affects us as we get older. So again, be mindful, no co-signing.
To build on that, especially in you guys' space, when it's going to get to the point where you're looking for apartments and you may have to get roommates and you guys may have to go on leases together. Yeah. That's a great point. Understanding, who has the credit worthiness to, get that apartment or lock that apartment in. You may have to, co-sign or have your partner co-sign or your roommate co-sign. Just be very mindful of that, because that also affects your credit. So very good call out with that, because again, while making your rent payment on time doesn't necessarily reflect with any of the credit bureaus, the moment that goes into collections or you're not able to pay, that then affects your credit. And then being able not to pay, not based on your own financial standing, but maybe your roommate, that could really put you, behind the 8 ball in the long run. So great call out by, just being mindful of, as you're, venturing out into new spaces with, looking for housing and things like that, just, the type of people that you may be partnering with in doing so.
So also, Bilal, why don't you touch on, like, if you co-sign with, a brother, how that affects your debt to income, because now that loan is also absorbing what you might want to go out and purchase on your own.
Absolutely. So it affects your available debt and your debt and your available credit. So now if you're co-signing on for someone, that available credit is no longer that, it's now debt for them. And if your name is attached to that, that's debt for you. Now there's a benefit to that as well. Now if they pay that, then of course that changes your credit availability. But the impact, the negative impact, is so much more paramount. So just understanding that, when you are attaching your name to something, I know it might be, in a time of need, and, it may be beneficial to the person who's asking you. It might be a dire situation, actually. But just be mindful of the type of impact that could have on you and in the long run, in the longevity on your financial picture.
And going back to payment history, whoever you're getting into contract with, if it's a friend, if it's a bank or whatever, make sure you do your research on who you're getting in an agreement with. Don't sign up for something that just sounds great. Make sure you're reading that fine line. If you don't understand, get somebody to help you understand it, because once you enter in that contract, you're tied to that contract until you finish it out. So if you're doing a roommate situation, know who you're roommating with. If you're getting in a contract for rent, know what you have to pay, when you have to pay it.
Because when you're making
cell phones,
yeah. Because when you're making these obligations and you're signing these contracts, I didn't know it's not going to be acceptable for these corporations that you're signing these contracts with. So just being knowledgeable and just having an understanding of the impact that those things have on your financial picture is very important. So just having a full, robust picture of how those things impact you and your credit mix. So taking action. One more. Where are you today? www.annualcreditreport.com. You get 2 free reports a year. So what I like to tell everyone is January and July. So you have one at the top of the year, and you have one at the middle point of the year. 2 touch points throughout the year to just have a good idea of where your credit is, what's on your credit, what needs to be disputed, what should not be there. So it just gives you an idea. Also, we offer what we consider identity alert. And it's $7 a month. You're able to view your credit score as much as you want. You're able to dispute anything as you see it. You get alerted for any type of fraudulent activity that may happen on the dark web. We also protect you for up to $25,000 on the dark web. So some institutions that you guys might already bank with might have those particular services. I implore you to ask and take advantage of those things, or you can definitely come see myself or one of the lovely bankers downstairs, and we can definitely help you with that and get you set up. But especially in today's age with digital, cyber, and all the just digital e-commerce that's happening, being sure that you're protected is really important, because there's also a lot of things where you're compromised and it becomes challenging to remove some things on your credit. So if you were alerted to that right away, or before things got too out of hand, well, there are a lot of things that we can do to help rectify that. But it's sometimes as you are compromising, you are unaware, it sometimes is challenging to get certain things removed from your credit. So if there are any preventative steps or proactive steps that you can take in order to prevent those things from happening, like Experian allows you to lock your credit, Equifax allows you to lock it. So if any time something gets pulled, you automatically get alerted and they'll stop it from being pulled. So I also implore you all to take proactive steps in order to be sure that you're protecting yourself for the future also.
And with that report that, on the identity theft program that Bilal was talking about, all creditors that you have done contract work with or been in agreement with is listed on there with their information. So let's say, for instance, you're a parent or something happened to where you're now in collections. You can always contact them and set up some type of payment arrangement so we can get that cleared up. Okay, so we're not leaving you out to dry. He talked about the $7 a month, and then $10 a month for, if your parents want to sign up for you and their children, for them and their children. So it is a great opportunity for them, or for you all, to be able to review your credit daily, anytime you want to. Just pull it up. You're setting up those alerts. You know when something's hitting your credit. So it's definitely something to look into. You have all this financial literacy today, so take advantage of it. What is it worth to keep your credit protected today?
But in the event that you just can't quite do that, just know that you have this available to you, where you're able to check it at least 2 times a year. And I also want to give each of you a challenge or a call to action. We do have counselors downstairs who they're doing soft pulls, right, Joel?
Yeah, from you talk about the drummers, what that look like already.
Say again.
We're just doing one pool of Equifax.
One pool of Equifax. So my call to action to each of you today is just to see what your Equifax is, just to see if there is anything that's on your credit report, or if you want to have further conversations around like, hey, what do I need to do to help build this? I strongly implore you guys to do so. So my call to action to you all today is just to get a good idea of what your Equifax is.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Joel Dancy, Fifth Third. How many of you all have seen the credit report? Just raise your hand.
Great question, Joe.
Here's what I'm asking. I have a daughter that's a sophomore in college. She's already trying to pitch to me, Dad, I gotta move off campus next year. I need my own independence, et cetera, et cetera. If you're over the age of 18 and you have not seen your credit report yet, you're at risk. Because there's a lot of identity theft. You guys use your phone. This is your lifestyle, right? A lot of people can swipe your information off the phone. So if you want to get qualified, get a rental property, get a lease, some other things, what it can be, take the 5 to 7 minutes just to understand what does your credit report look like, so you know where you stand right now to protect yourself. He says it's a soft pull because if you go into our branches, there's a fee. So what we've agreed with Belmont is that this is bring a nonprofit agency that specializes in making sure you understand how this looks and feels. So if you see that maybe your great grandma or your uncle use your credit for something unbeknownst to you or some things like that, they can tell you how to resolve this without having to pay to do it. So this is why it's really important to kind of make sure you know where you are now that you're over the age of 18, because you want your independence, you want your freedom, the man to buy a car. It's good to know where you stand before you make your next financial decision. So just my suggestion.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe. So develop a strategy. Take each component of your credit and develop a strategy, guys. So just understanding 2 things I really want to impart upon you. Please pay your payments on time. In the event that you can't, eliminate those balances, please make your minimum monthly payment. As you very well see, that is a large mix, or that is a large percentage of what your credit profile is made of. And then also, don't close any any old trade lines that you may have that will affect you, will have negative impact on you there. And just understanding what the credit mix is. Understanding that you do need non-revolving and revolving credit to have a robust credit profile to get any type of lending that you may be looking for in the future. So just developing strategies around your income, really trying to figure out how we can manipulate your budgeting, your savings, and adding by using those things to add impact to your credit. So just understanding it's all a symbiotic relationship when you're looking at your finances in a whole. So rate shop, understand, guys, financial institutions work for you guys.
Yes.
Do not be intimidated when you are having conversations in financial institutions or people like myself. We work for you. We are here to service you. So just understand that as you're shopping, like it's no different than going to grocery shopping. If apples are too much at Harris Teeter, you might want to go to Publix. So it's really the same thing as you're looking for financial institutions that's going to help you achieve your goals. It's okay for you guys to shop because we all work for you. Space out different credit applications. You do not want to get. If you're looking for a car, I recommend that you do so within the same month. Please do so within the same month because as you split that time up, every hard inquiry affects your credit negatively. It has a negative impact on you. So even though you might have good credit, you wanted to go to Honda this month, they approved you, but you didn't necessarily want a Honda. You went to Hyundai next month and they approved you again, and you were like, oh, my credit was at a 750, and then Hyundai pulls you, you're now at a 720. You're like, wow, what? Or not even that, maybe like 740, and you're like, wow, why did I go down? It's because they had a hard inquiry the previous month. So if you are shopping, I strongly implore that you do so, all in one month, because as you're getting lending, like say you try to get a loan the next month, us as financial institutions will look at that and say, oh, okay, they were car shopping last month. We'll make some exceptions here in regards to their inquiries. So as you are looking to get loans, or if you might be car shopping, understand that you are, try to do that within the same month because hard inquiries impacts your credit negatively. And get back in the game. So often I hear, Bilal, I got a 500, I got a 475. There's nothing I can do. Guys, all that score is just a report card. It's an indicator of how well you're currently doing. Just like school, like you at midterms, you might be at a C, you might be at a whatever. You work hard, you know, the duration of the year, that grade changes. So just understand that it's kind of the same. It was not kind of, it actually is the same thing. It's just a snapshot of where you are at this time.
Yeah.
And your report request doesn't count. So just understanding, you know, when you're looking at your report or your request, that doesn't count against you as well. So does anybody have any questions for me? I know it was a lot of information today. Yes, ma'am.
So you said, like if you're car shopping,
Mhm.
in 30 days they pull multiple credit reports. Is that the same for cars, mortgages, everything? Because I think that
Yes, that's correct. Affirmative, yes.
I think somebody at a mortgage company told me it was 45 days for mortgages.
It's 30.
Okay.
And what that means is that if you're inquiring for a mortgage and you're going to different brokers, sometimes they'll shop it, see what it looks like. And it's the same thing for cars under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So it gives you time to kind of have it before it dings you for approval. After that 30 days, you'll see
The inquiries.
the inquiry.
Great question.
Yes.
Great question. Great question. Yeah,
Okay,
great
yeah.
question. Great question. Any other questions? Perfect. Are you guys going to go see what your Equifax is? That's definitely my call to action.
I say do it. I once hired a babysitter and she said that she did her first credit pull and she found out her mom had a credit card that had $20,000. Yeah. So I recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going to give some, who does it today, I think there's a gift card, Amazon
Yeah.
drawings later on today.
And also we're doing, so if you guys haven't filled out the enter to win, please do so as well. We are giving out a $100 Amazon gift card also. So you can get with any of the lovely bankers downstairs and they'll be more than happy to help you with that.
And if you have not signed up, sign up. Get your credit. I know. Yeah.
To attend the workshop session.
125 guys.
Yeah.
Make sure that you put your name on the sign-up sheet at the
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Awesome. So can anybody tell me what the two types of credit, what two types of credit there
Wait a
is?
minute, no, because it's
No.
up on the screen. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Let me go back.
That's cool. That's cool. That's good enough
Okay.
for me there. Okay. What makes up most of your credit profile?
Payment history.
Love it. I got to give you two. That was too easy. Two types of credit. Give me an example of of revolving credit. Got you. Got you. Joe, what we got? Just one?
I'll give out one more. Here we go. Here we go.
Uh-oh. One more.
Appreciate you.
Come on, y'all.
That young lady right there.
Get this money.
There we go. There we go. Oh, we're good. We're good. I think Joe's all out of gift cards at this point. Thank you, guys. Is there any other questions? Perfect. Well, I implore you guys all to go downstairs, put your name in and enter to win, and also check your credit score. Thank you for your time today, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Be sure to register on the back table.
Yes, please register on the back
So you
on
can
the
get
back
credit,
table as well.
yes.
Yes, absolutely.